the top 10 signs that you may not be going to church often enough. The top 10 signs that you may not be going to church often enough. Number 10, the minister announces the sermons from Ruth, and you think, I didn't know they hired an associate pastor. Number 9, you think that Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob had a few hit songs from the 1960s. Number 8, you open to the Gospel of Luke, and a World War II savings bond falls out.
It didn't switch.
Top 10 signs you may not be going to church enough.
Ken, it's not switching, it's staying on the line.
Oh, I see. Okay, thank you. Number 7, during fellowship hour, you tell a friend that your favorite Bible character has always been Hercules. Number 6, Charlotte's Web has taken up residence below the pew where you like to sit. Number 5, you become frustrated because you can no longer point out which one is Moses in the famous painting of the Last Supper. Number 4, you catch the kids whispering and blushing about the Song of Solomon, and you demand, who gave you this sexy stuff? Number 3, you think that the minor prophets worked hard for a living in the slate quarries of Pennsylvania. Number 2, when your adult education teacher says, meet us at 1 Corinthians, you ask, when is their open house? And the number 1 sign you may not be going to church enough is you go ice fishing with a buddy and tell him, I couldn't have gone to church today anyway. My wife is home with the flu. So there you have it, the top 10 signs that you may not be going to church often enough. Did you know that the Bible actually commands Christians to go to church? Acts 2:42 says, and the people devoted themselves to the apostles' teachings and to their fellowship, to the breaking of the bread, and to the prayers. And Hebrews 10 says, let us approach God together with a true heart in full assurance of faith. Let us love each other and do good deeds, not neglecting to meet together, but by encouraging one another as you see the day approaching. And a minister I once knew added, it's okay to welcome your congregation at the start of every service, but you should never say thank you for coming, because they know that they should already be there in the first place. But that being said, let's admit it. We all have good excuses for not coming to church sometimes. Just look at Craig and Walt. And the excuses are no doubt legitimate. My kid is sick. I have a business trip. I'm going to a birthday party out of state. Our vacation starts that day. And yes, you can include me in that group as well. Although I hate to do it, sometimes it's inevitable that Wands and I have to miss going to church. Which brings me to this box of food. Pray tell, for those of you who have been aware or have noticed, perhaps you've seen a box like this around the church every week for about the last 10 weeks. Usually they're bigger than this. They're sealed. It's a box of food, and it's usually in the fellowship room, and it says simply, "For Ken Lobb, from John." And from all accounts, it seems like it's just a matter of somebody simply wanting to do good to their church without having to attend church. Or is it? There's lots of possibilities here, so I want to tell you the story and maybe we can figure this out together. At the beginning of December, I got a phone call on a day when I just happened to still be downstairs on a Sunday afternoon. I was in the pastor's office, and this guy said, "Pastor, can I come see you?" And so I said, "Yeah, sure, come on right down if you want to meet right away." So within 5 minutes, he's here. I thought maybe it was a person who was having some kind of life crisis, but he steps up to me and says, "You don't look like a minister." And I said to him, "Well, you don't look like you're from Annandale." So it was a guy about 40 years old, and he said that his name was John. Thin, light brown hair, kind of tall. He said, "Pastor, I've lived in Annandale for several years now, and I've always seen your church as I drive by. And I've always wanted to go to your church, but somehow I've always been too busy. And now I'm going to move. I'm moving next week to North Carolina, but I really want to do something for the church." And I said, "Okay, fine, what is it?" And he said, "Well, I would like to donate some food that I have to the church before I move to North Carolina." And I said, "Okay, that's fine." And we shook hands, and sure enough, within a few days, this box of food arrived. And I thought, fine, great. But then the next week came, and another box came. And then the third week came, and another box came. And week after week after week, we have found a box packed well, packed with great stuff, munchy food and pasta and sundry items like toilet paper and paper towels, all kinds of goodies, week after week after week. And unfortunately, because I thought that he said that he was moving to North Carolina next week, I never thought to get his last name or to get his phone number. I thought it was a one-shot deal, but obviously it's not. And so since this has been going on for months now, it's got me to thinking that we need to show this guy a little appreciation, a little love, because he is doing a great thing. So I decided to write a letter to the Hunterdon County Democrat, thinking perhaps, just perhaps, he might see it there and respond. And that letter was in the Democrat last Thursday. It said, "Dear editor, as pastor of Annandale Reformed Church, I would like to give a shout out of appreciation to the semi-anonymous man named John for his generous food donations to our church, which in turn have been given to the Clinton Open Cup Board Food Bank. And we're using this forum to thank him because we don't know else how to contact him. Week after week, since before Christmas, John has been secretly supplying us with one box of food per week, well packed with excellent dry food, and dropping it off at the church's back door. He wouldn't give me his last name, and it sounded like a one-time donation. Since then, we've received at least 8 more boxes of food, which is up to 10 or 11 now. And I concluded my letter by saying, "Sir, wherever you are, God bless you. If your plans to move have changed, please worship with us soon. We want to thank you properly. Sincerely, Kenneth Lau. And I got a letter back from the editor of the Hunterdon County Democrat, whose name is Curtis Leeds, who said, "Hello, Reverend. Thank you for your beautiful, inspiring, and well-written letter, which we will be pleased to publish as soon as room allows. In my faith, an anonymous act of giving is the highest form of charity. Of course, by definition, we don't hear about many such acts like that, so it's especially nice when we do. Thank you for sharing your story with us. Sincerely, Curtis Leeds." So there you go. Thank you, John, wherever you are. We appreciate you, brother, wherever you are. We don't know if you live on West Street or Main Street or Highland or Highfields Road or in the Mews, but you have proven yourself to be a person of God. Do I still wish and hope and pray that you'll come to church sometime? Yes, of course. John and people like John need to be encouraged to find a good church, because the Bible instructs us to be in relationship with other believers. John needs to find a good church, because as the Bible teaches, we are part of Christ's body, and we should recognize our need to fit into the body of other believers. That the church is the place where we come together to share and enjoy one another's company as members of the body of Christ. We can even say that together we are fulfilling an important purpose for Christ's work on earth. Yet, as we just mentioned, there are circumstances that keep us away from the church. And John's reason said he was too busy. Okay, maybe he was too busy. But perhaps there was another reason as well. Fear. Fear of the unknown. Fear of change. Even fear of friendship. Since we're on the inside of this building looking out, it doesn't seem so hostile to us. But maybe to somebody who is out there in the world, especially if they've only been living in town for a short while, maybe, just maybe, this building looks intimidating, or set in its ways, or unchanging. Because for over 150 years, this building has turned into kind of an institution. Of course, we can play a part in changing this image by bringing the joyful message of the gospel out to people there, like John, whenever we can. Because maybe the easy part is after you've already come through the doors. Maybe the tough part is getting through the doors in the first place. So despite what the Bible commands about gathering as an assembly of believers, and what Christ says that whenever 2 or 3 are gathered in my name, there I am, the question that I would hope that we have empathy for people like John are, can a person who lives a solitary existence still be a Christian? I think Christ himself would say yes to that one. That Christ would never turn a person away. Of course, a person's faith won't have a chance to grow and develop and thrive if you're a hermit. But yes, a person stranded on a desert island somewhere can love God as much as anyone else. So I say again to John, thank you. And we could ponder further about what does his this string of boxes, what does it mean? Should we diligently search for this guy and demand to know the reason why he's getting rid of all this high-quality food? Is it just a convenient dumping ground for his unwanted items? Or should we put a message on our church board outside, urging him to come on in to try to evangelize him. I think the overall message of the gospel gives us a better suggestion that let's just appreciate John for who he is and what he's done, and just leave it at that. His gesture has been gracious and good, and despite what he said about moving in 1 week, he's still sneaking boxes into the church. And a lot of people have been benefiting from his generosity. Author Andrew Harvey writes, Christ has no body now on earth but yours. Christ has no hands but yours. No feet but yours. Yours are the eyes through which Christ looks out in compassion to the world. Yours are the feet which he goes about doing good. Yours are the hands which he has to bless. So just like in Mark 12, and the widow who drops her last 2 coins into the offering plate, so too Jesus tells his disciples, this widow's offering is greater than everyone else who has contributed out of their abundance. And sure, anyone can box up a bunch of food and ship it off for charity. But to do it in the way that our friend John has done, week after week, is truly a blessing, and is truly a movement of the Holy Spirit, of which we should feel encouragement and inspiration ourselves. So for that, we appreciate you, John. Thank you. May your gifts benefit others, and may your gracious gesture make you whole. Amen.